Here's the honest version. No wind-up. If you own SoFi right now, or you're thinking about buying the dip, one single date decides whether you're early or whether you're the exit liquidity. That date is July 29th. Look, if you're short on time, or you just refuse to sit through some random cat on the internet, here's the one thing to walk away with. The Fed is very likely on hold for most of the back half of this year, which means the rate scare that beat SoFi down 44% from its high is fading. But the thing replacing that fear is quieter and nastier, and it shows up in exactly one line of the July 29th earnings report. Read that line before you read anything else. That's it. That's the whole video in one breath. Now if you want the actual reasoning, the part Wall Street desks decode in the morning and retail finds out about 3 weeks later, stick around, because I'm going to walk you through how two completely different signals quietly agreed on the same conclusion this week. Real quick. Hi. I'm DataCat. I spent years as, let's be honest, a corporate slave, a crappy analyst inside a Fortune 50 company, and eventually, reluctantly traded the corporate grind for lasers, keyboards, and a channel that, as of right now, is about 11 months old. So yeah, we're small, new. Sorry I'm not good at talking about myself, and I'm not here selling you a course or a private Discord where the real signals live. There isn't one. It's just me, the data, and occasionally the cat logic. If that's your thing, the subscribe button is right there. If it's not, no hard feelings, just know that my cat and I'll be judging you silently. Right. Let's start with the tell. This week I caught two rotation signals firing inside financials. The first into mortgage finance, the Dow Jones Mortgage Finance Group, the second into asset managers. Now, just to clarify, the move is not about chasing into these two sectors. The move is to ask the only question that actually matters. What would have to be true about the world for both of those legs to fire at the same time? Because they're not the same trade. Asset managers make money on assets under management times fees. They rally when the market expects stocks and credit to stay elevated. Mortgage finance is the opposite personality. It's the single most rate-punished corner of the entire financial sector. It only rallies when the rates market stops pricing tightening and starts believing long yields are going to sit still or drift lower. So think about it. For both of those to light up together, the market has to be quietly voting on one specific proposition, that the Fed is on hold, the hike scare is fading, and capital is rotating toward whatever benefits from rate stability. If money genuinely believed a hike was coming, mortgage finance would be the last place on earth it would run. It'd be like a cat voluntarily jumping into a bathtub. Doesn't happen. And the fact that it did happen, on its own, without me telling it to, that's the price action confirming a thesis I already had from just my last video from a completely different direction. Which brings me to the man everyone's misreading. So yeah, Kevin Warsh said some hawkish sounding things. The headlines ran with the word hike. But if you've watched my last video, you'd know that's simply not the case at all. Now, let's run through it briefly again. First, it's the task force admission. Warsh talked about building contemporaneous real-time inflation measurement on a 9 to 12 month timeline. A chair who's institutionalizing better measurement over the next year is a chair institutionalizing waiting. That's not a man reaching for the rate hike lever. That's a man ordering new tools and telling everyone to be patient while they get built. Second, the bond market called his bluff in about 10 minutes. After he spoke, the 2-year yield stayed basically flat while the 10-year went up. That's a steepener. If the market actually believed in an imminent hike, the 2-year, the part most sensitive to Fed policy, would have jumped. It didn't move. The bond market itself refuted the hike headline almost instantly. Third, the AI demand boom first, supply boom later disinflationary mechanism. That's Warsh explaining why prices normalize on their own. A real hawk doesn't sit you down and explain why inflation will fix itself. A real hawk just hikes. When someone gives you the reason prices will calm down without intervention, I find it more like a dovish reasoning wearing a hawkish jacket. And to put it together, the read is a patient Fed dressed in hawkish rhetoric, on hold for most of the back half of the year, and that matters enormously for one specific stock, because it removes one of the 3 anchors that's been sitting on it. And yes, that's SoFi. But first, here's where I have to slow you down, because this is exactly where retail overshoots and gets hurt. Now, if the market is repricing financials for a Fed that holds, then the most rate narrative beaten fintech lender out there, SoFi, down 44% from its high, becomes the highest talk way to express that same repricing. The rotation into mortgage finance is the smoke. SoFi is where the fire could be. Or the trap. What the Fed being on hold fixes is that the whole higher for longer chokes richly valued consumer lenders discount gets partially unwound. SoFi trades around 27 times forward earnings and roughly 2.2 times tangible book. Those multiples are far easier to defend with a patient Fed than a tightening one. Funding costs stabilize. The lending flywheel stops facing incremental compression. A big chunk of that 44% drawdown was pricing pure rate fear, and the rate half of that fear just shrank. Now here's what it does not fix, and I need you to really hear this. A Fed on hold does nothing for anything company specific. It does not raise SoFi's guidance. It does not answer the Muddy Waters short allegations. And it does not reverse the charge-off tick which crept up to 3.03% from 2.8% on personal loans. And moreover, if the real danger this year isn't rates but an AI-driven labor cleansing cycle like Warsh described, his recessionary path to productivity, and we've got corroborating tech labor softening data from Ramp, then a consumer lender's credit book is exposed to precisely that. Remember, SoFi's borrowers skew toward high-income professionals. Historically, that's been a strength. But that is exactly the cohort standing in the blast radius of white-collar AI displacement. A Fed on hold does not protect a lender when its borrowers start losing their jobs. So the honest reframe is like this. The macro headwind rotated. It didn't disappear. Rate risk down, credit cycle risk quietly up. And that converts SoFi from a macro hostage story into a prove-it-yourself story. Which, funnily enough, is exactly why the chart looks the way it does. And so, under this new lens, the recent technicals suddenly make more sense. The short-term accumulation is real, and it's disciplined. Price is up 4.4% over its 20-day moving average, up 8.1% over a rising 50-day, on balance volume climbing about 14.7 million shares a day, and a positive 20-day regression slope. In plain terms, 75% of closes have been above the 20-day line. Somebody has been buying this thing patiently for a month. Under the old hikes are coming story, that buying looked reckless. But under the Warsh hold read, it looks informed. That's smart money front-running the exact same repricing my rotation signals caught in mortgage finance. But, yes, as usual, we have a big but. The primary trend is still broken. Price is 18% below a falling 200-day moving average, which sits around $22.33. The death cross from March 5th is still active. The stock is in the bottom fifth of its 52-week range. And the most recent candle is the market saying, not without proof. A gap and fade, red close, about 5% off its high, with wicks on both ends larger than the body, rejected right at the 1870 to 1919 resistance shelf. That's dead on the Fibonacci levels at around $18.20. The hourly chart adds momentum divergence right into that rejection. Read it all together. It seems to me that the month-long accumulation carried SoFi from around $16 up to the $19 shelf. That was the Fed on hold trade, and it's basically done. To punch through 1920 to 1950 and start the long repair job toward that $22 200-day line, the stock needs company-specific fuel. And there is exactly one scheduled source of that fuel. And yes, that's the next earnings. Now, most earnings dates are incremental. A little beat, a little miss, everyone moves on. But SoFi is simply different, for 4 reasons that compound on each other. Reason 1. The guidance question is now the entire stock. Remember, the 13 to 14% drop after the first quarter report wasn't about the results. The first quarter was a record on every single line. Revenue was up, EBITDA was up, GAAP net income doubled, 14.7 million members, an 18th straight Rule of 40 quarter. The stock got hit anyway because management held full-year guidance flat after beating. If they hold flat again on July 29th after another beat, the market's conclusion writes itself. 2 consecutive record quarter no raise prints isn't caution anymore. It's a pattern. It says management sees a deceleration or a credit problem they're not spelling out loud. Reason 2. The credit line is the tiebreaker on the whole AI cleansing thesis I just mentioned. The second quarter personal loan charge-off number is the single most important figure in the entire release. If it stabilizes near 3% or improves, the labor cleansing risk stays theoretical, and the bull case clears its last real hurdle. If it jumps toward 3.5% or higher, then Warsh's recessionary path stops being a panel discussion abstraction and starts showing up in SoFi's actual loan book. At 2.2 times tangible book, that's a derating event. That's the stock getting cheaper for a bad reason. Reason 3. The Muddy Waters overhang meets its first full clean quarter test. A quarter of audited numbers, credit disclosure, and a management Q&A after the report either starves that short thesis or feeds it. There's no neutral outcome here. Silence and softness get read as confirmation that the shorts were onto something. Reason 4 is that the chart has already pre-positioned the binary for you. Price is coiled directly under that 1870 to 1950 resistance cluster after a month of accumulation, with the gap and fade showing sellers are actively defending the shelf. A guidance raise plus stable charge-offs likely gaps the stock through 1950 and opens a run toward what? The 21 to 22, where the real war with the falling 200-day line begins. A flat guide or a bad credit print likely unwinds the entire month of accumulation, back down towards 1660 to 1710. The buyers who front-ran this print will not stick around to be polite about it. Neither would a cat whose food bowl showed up empty. That's the definition of make or break. Both the fundamental question, is this a raise-worthy business or a decelerating one, and the technical question, does the accumulation break resistance or get trapped, resolve on the exact same day? So right now, after hearing all these mumble jumbles, let me leave you with something you can actually use. 1. Update your prior. The Fed is not the threat. 2. Independent market structures plus Warsh's own institutional behavior say hold through at least September. Stop pricing SoFi off a hike scare that the bond market itself already rejected in 10 minutes. 2. The threat that replaced it is credit, not rates. On July 29th, read the charge-off line before you read the EPS line. I mean that literally. 3. The rotation signals are your confirmation, not your trade. Mortgage finance and asset managers firing together means the market's pricing rate stability. SoFi is the leveraged version of that theme, higher torque and higher idiosyncratic risk. 4. Before earnings, treat this as a defined range trade only. Long bias above roughly 1730 to 1750. Target the 1920 shelf. Hard stop below 1730. The gap and fade at resistance is telling you not to chase the shelf. 5. Into July 29th. Pick your lane on purpose. Either flatten and re-enter on the reaction, paying up maybe 10% for confirmation rather than eating 15% of gap risk. Or hold only a position small enough that a gap down to 1650 is genuinely tolerable. Holding full size into a binary print because the business is great is how a record revenue quarter still cost people 14% overnight. It has happened repeatedly. Don't let it rhyme. So all in all, look at whether full year guidance is raised or held and personal loan charge-offs stable near 3% or rising. Raised plus stable, the downtrend repair begins, objective 21 to 22. Flat plus rising, back to the 16s, and the death cross keeps its verdict. That's the whole map. I don't know which way it breaks. Anyone who tells you they do is selling you something, and I already told you I'm not. If this saved you from holding full size into a coin flip, the like button genuinely helps a small channel like mine get found, and I'd appreciate it more than I'll comfortably admit. I'm DataCat. This cat needs a nap, and I'll see you in the next.